record this. Oh, here we go. Got it. Recording. So we're going to record this so that we can send it out afterwards. I cannot see the chat. So Nalani, James, and Addie, I'm going to need you guys to be monitoring the chat. And I'm going to give our presenters an opportunity to introduce themselves, and we'll go from there. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right, Mindy, you want to take it away?
James, can you monitor the chat? Because I'm trying to save the other chat. Thanks.
He's on it. All right. Very good. Mindy, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Mindy Glazier. I'm a kindergarten teacher here at Crosslake Community School. I also teach in the online program where I'm a learning coach. So I have some online students, some 7th through 12th graders. So we're just getting ready to figure out how we're going to apply that to our littles now. I've been working with our preschool teacher, our 1-2 team, and my co-teacher in kindergarten here on what we're going to be doing. So I'm just going to share with you kind of what we're doing and see if you guys have any questions.
Mindy, can I just jump in for a quick second?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, so my name is Stacy Bender, and I'm the director of the online program at Crosslake Community School. And I need to kind of put a plug in here for Mindy and Sarah. So Sarah comes to us, as she was with us last year as a little part-time. At the end of the year, we really needed her. She did some stuff after hours for us, and we were really thankful for her. Mindy was a student teacher last year, and this is actually her first year teaching. She's a seat-based teacher, but she has really led the charge in this, and so is kind of, so I want to like tell you guys, she's just like a little bit of an expert. And so basically, we're just able to give you kind of, it's a little more like practitioner in front of you, because I kind of feel like we're about 2 days ahead of where you guys all will be. And so sometimes it's just helpful, then maybe you'll all get on the same page faster. And so hopefully we can just save you a little time. But I wanted to kind of say that like, this is, for the Audubon portfolio, this is completely uncharted territory. There are no online kids younger than 5th grade currently in the portfolio. And so we're using the best practitioners that we have within the portfolio. And I'm really grateful for Erin for trusting us with this, but we really are muddling through this together. But we're just a little bit ahead because of having a distance learning or a online approved, state approved online learning provider as part of our charter as well. And I'm sorry, I have bronchitis, so I won't be talking.
Yeah,
anymore.
and I'm sorry that I dove in without appropriately thanking Crosslake. I mean, I just want to be clear, they reached out to us and said, hey, how can we help? So we are super grateful that to have not only have that expertise, but that they're willing to share their resources and their teachers and their knowledge and wisdom and what's gone right and what's gone wrong to help everybody else kind of figure it out together. So thank you so much for sharing all that knowledge with us. Okay, so I'm going to mute myself, and I'm running the presentation here. So Mindy and Sarah, you just tell me when you need me to click, okay?
Okay. All right, so yeah, this just explains who helped me out here with the presentation. That was our pre-K teacher, my other kindergarten teacher, 1-2 team, and Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah.
Sorry, Sarah, do you want to introduce yourself? Sorry.
Oh yeah,
Sure.
Yeah, sorry, you were on the last call too. Please introduce yourself.
Oh yeah, I'm just hanging out in my house today. So I am a licensed pre-K teacher as well as special education in multiple areas, K-12. So my lens is primarily special education, but excuse me, the first of my career was spent in early childhood. So I also, I was willing to help out if questions came up, particularly related to special education, but I'm also happy to jump in and answer things or provide input throughout this. But Mindy was mostly in charge of this, so props to Mindy.
All right, so for pre-K here at our school, it is a paid program, so she won't be necessarily providing as many services as some of the other pre-K, especially if you're doing special ed services or anything. Her main focus is just gonna be maintaining relationships with families and just keeping that communication open and helping them out where we can. So our kindergarten class has already been using ClassTag this year, and we added our pre-K students to that so that she can communicate with them. If you're not familiar, it's kind of like a private Facebook, I guess I'd call it. This is a screenshot of what my homepage looks like. You can add pictures. You can easily share with one family. You can share with everybody. They can message you through there. Lots of other features too, like I do my conferences through there, so you can do scheduling, signups, tons of features, and it's all free. So yeah, she'll be using this to communicate with her families and just kind of keep them up to date, put out resources for them to use at home. In kindergarten, we are going to keep using our ClassTag for that communication since we've been using it all year, just kind of keeping that consistent for parents. And we'll also be adding Google Classroom. So that'll be a new learning curve, I think, for parents and students. My students have been using computers quite a bit. I've been trying to get them introduced to different things on there. So hopefully it won't be too hard. We'll be sending a daily email communication to parents because obviously we can't just send it to our kindergartners. A lot of them can't read yet. So we're sending it to parents and they'll be expected to kind of communicate that daily to-do list and then
Mindy,
assist their students logging in. What was that?
Yeah, quick
Sure.
question that came in. Can the families ask questions via that ClassTag?
Yes, they can. There's actually different settings. Like right now, I don't have mine set up that parents can share like on that main page. They can comment on my stuff, but they can't put a post, but they can send things to me privately. But you can have where parents can communicate with each other. You can have where they can post. So there's a lot of different settings on there that you can customize to however you want to communicate with your families. For our Google Classroom, we try to keep it super simple for kindergarten. We're just going to keep it like one classroom and just add things to each one. And most of our communication will be through that daily email, and they'll just access the resources they need in the Google Classroom. We didn't want to have multiple classrooms for different subjects and be posting assignments every day and things for our kindergartners. So it'll more just be kind of repetitious things, like you'll maybe do a little bit of RAS Kids every day, and we'll just communicate that in the email. We'll provide a lot of extra resources for the parents that need to fill more time or want to do more things, but just try not to overwhelm the parents that might have other kids and older kids that are going to need a lot more assistance. So trying to start with at least with the things we've already been using that they're familiar with. So we've been using RAS Kids a lot. We're going to be using that for our reading. IXL, my kids are familiar with that. Happy Numbers. Yeah, so just kind of sticking with those easy ones that our kids have already used so parents don't have to be completely starting at square one and trying to teach kids how to do stuff that they don't know how to do. We're going to hold a morning live every day, we decided. We're going to do that together for both of our classes. We're going to record that so students that can't attend live can view it later. We're also going to do read alouds, sometimes live, and then also just recorded ones that they can access in the Google Classroom. And then we'll have office hours every day so that parents get a chance to know this is when I'm available if you need to contact me, if we want a video conference, calls, whatever is convenient for them. You can skip to the next one. This is just a screenshot of my Google Classroom. So I chose, like I said, to just do one classroom and then use topics to provide the resources rather than do separate classrooms, keeping everything in one spot. So you can see there, the top one is going to be our morning meeting link, and we will do it the same, link every day so that just stays the same. We don't have to re-invite them all the time. For reading, we're doing the RAS Kids. We included our sight word list. We're also compiling, obviously, bags of resources to go home that'll actually be paper products too. Most of the apps we're using and things are available on tablet as well. We figured that would be helpful for kindergartners. They're easier to use. Maybe they'll be able to have tablets and other siblings can use the computers. Same, just to kind of keep it easy for parents. So almost everything is available on iPad or tablet as well.
Mindy?
Looks like there was a, sorry, it looks like there was a question that came in about what Happy Numbers is. Happy
Numbers is an online math platform. It's really game-based. It's pretty cute. The kids really like it. They have like a little dinosaur and they hatch eggs as they move on to new levels. And yeah, my kids have been using it all year, and it's a lot funner than IXL. Like IXL is really nice for us because it breaks it down by, you know, standard and really specific skills, but Happy Numbers is really fun for the kids and very engaging.
Yeah, there's quite a few, and the other three math ones I use that are more fun than IXL are iknowit.com, Freckle, and Splash Learn, which is Splash Math. They're all more game-based and fun and leveled, and you can take assessments and get and assign assignments on the various platforms. So there are a lot of fun apps that are pretty much free everywhere right now based on what's going on. But Mindy, the thing I wanted to say, and you mentioned it, and I'm hearing this as well from my district, is to really be mindful of creating continuity amongst departments or grade levels. I have a first grade teacher friend who is the expert seesaw teacher and would be able to, would love to add 10 different assignments every day, but we need to be presenting sort of a unified amount of work, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So one teacher can't say, we're only going to start this way. And then somebody from another class will be like, well, our teacher's making us do a writing assignment already. So I think that's important for schools to be mindful of, that grade levels and even buildings are being consistent in what they're expecting, and to start small and to start slow.
Yeah, that's been this whole week. We reported starting Monday, so we're on day 5 of this already. And yeah, we've been really coming together. Like I said, we have 2 kindergarten teachers, 2 separate classes, but we are having one Google Classroom, and we will be working together on that for all of our students just to keep everything completely consistent. We have 2 teachers that teach 1 and 2. They're working together and just creating one classroom together as well. So we're trying to come up with things wide also that are consistent, and just modifying them per grade as much as possible, so parents aren't trying to think, oh, what did I have to do to log my kindergartner's attendance that was different from my 3rd graders, different from my 7th graders. So we're trying to just make sure everything is the same and as easy as we can make it for families.
And I guess with that, there's a question about families potentially having login problems with Google Classroom. Did you guys experience that, or kind of what did you guys do to help to support?
Well, we haven't rolled anything out yet, so we haven't experienced anything yet. We're making some video tutorials, like this is how you log into your student's email for the first time and where you will access the Google Classroom, trying to take it back as basic as we can, because all of our pre-K 4 students have not even accessed their email before. They had email addresses, but we didn't actually use them with them. So parents will need to get them actually logged into that for the first time and to get access to Google Classroom.
Yes, we're doing similar with lots of tutorials, but also recognizing, I already met with one of my families who is not super tech savvy and was like, I don't have more room on my phone to download this and all these things. So making sure, like Mindy also said, they're sending home actual work supplies as well, because there are going to be kids that aren't going to be able to access the Google Classroom or Seesaw, maybe because of technology issues, or maybe because of just what their family life is like, or, there's so many barriers. And so we have to be mindful that we're not just relying on a Google Classroom, and that we're also giving students these materials, if we can, hard copies, and giving them work that would be sufficient to do at home, sitting at a table with a paper and pencil.
Right, like we use Go Math, so we have the workbooks and stuff already that we're doing all year. So we're sending those home and then providing, these extra resources that are online things, but they also will have the physical workbook there to work on. Same with our handwriting without tears. We're sending the workbooks home, and then there's tons of online videos and things they can access, but they're not required. You wouldn't need to access them if you didn't need to. So. First and second grade, like I said, keeping it same. They're doing one classroom together, but they are also going to be using Odysseyware, which is the curriculum platform that our 512 uses, or one of them anyway. And it is not free. It's something that we've purchased, but it is giving them some access to pre-designed curriculum that they can use and assign in there, so they're not having to completely reinvent the wheel. They're going to also use the daily email with a checklist and instructions for how to access resources and what they need to use for the day. That's one video I needed to make for my parents. I sent, a huge bag of materials for them. So I'm going to go through each one and be like, okay, this is your handwriting book. So when we say, this is what you need, so parents know, because they're going to get overwhelmed with all of the stuff we just sent home. They'll be posting daily videos. I'm not sure they're going to do a live morning meeting, but they're going to do the videos. One teacher's going to read a chapter book and post a chapter each day. The other one's going to do picture books. Since they teach both first and second grade, they're going to try to hit both those. And also having the office hours each day where families can reach out to them, they can reach out to families, and just trying to keep that communication going. Who has questions? What needs do you have? We'll be providing Chromebooks to families that need them. So we're getting that sorted out right now. Who needs technology still and how many do they need, and getting that out to everyone. Many of the internet people are providing free access to people that don't have it. So we're pretty lucky that most of our kids will have access to technology.
Hey, so Mindy, we've got some questions coming in.
Sure.
So first, do you have one class tag page for both kinder classrooms, or does each have their own class tag page?
We have our own class tag page.
Okay. Then do you have an app that you can recommend for students to be able to write or draw on documents? Patrick says he uses Notability, but it's not a free app. It costs money. Is there something else that they can use?
I'm not familiar with anything where they can, I have apps where they can practice like letter writing and stuff, but it's not like where they can like free write something to send to you or anything like that. Sarah, are you familiar with anything like that?
Not off the top of my head. I'm writing that question down, but I will say our district is moving to 100% Seesaw. And Seesaw is an app where you can edit, comment, video. It's actually pretty great. I'm a little bummed that I didn't spend more time getting to it before I had to do it, whereas some teachers are like pros at this point. So definitely I would recommend looking into Seesaw. I think it's free, but there's parameters around, like our district uses it, so probably has more ability or capability within it, but I think you could do it free at a smaller scale, but definitely check with like your technology department or person or principal or whoever that would be at your school and see if that would be an option. It also has a huge resource library, and our district, so when I don't have to reinvent the wheel like you were saying. You can go in there and type in, I want to do a social skills lesson on relaxation or something, and you can type that in, and everyone that's willing to share has shared them, and you can plug it right from the app. So it's a really good app to use if it's an option.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Kenna in the comments here is saying that Seesaw does have it. The free level has the ability for students to draw on assignments and submit them. And
Okay.
Seesaw Plus has a 90-day free trial. So
yeah. And
maybe something to try.
And that hits the question too about how you can provide feedback or grade student work, because they are doing it right on the Seesaw app. Again, this won't work for everyone, including all of my students, because if they're not iPad or tablet learners, and we haven't done it. I mean, this isn't how some of my kids were using it in their class, but most of my kids didn't do that as how they learned. So,
Yeah, Seesaw's really awesome. My son's teacher uses it. He's in 4th grade, and you probably could adapt it to younger kids, but I think it, works great with those little bit older kids, those like 3rd, 4th graders that are a little bit more independent, but it has tons of great features. So.
Our 1st grade team uses it almost exclusively. I think
it's
really? They're, and even into kindergarten, they started using it this year, I think. But again, we're expecting some kids who've never done it to do it on top of trying to do their work. But just being, just understanding that it's not going to come easy for everybody, and that this is just one tool in the toolbox. But even our pre-kindergarten programs in our district use it. They use it more as like taking videos of their children and sharing it out, not for assignments. But even starting in kindergarten, they were doing some introduction to assignments. Right now, the way I'm using it just to get kids connected is I have a feelings check-in and all they have to do is circle which way they're feeling, and then they can do like an audio recording of I'm feeling happy, sad, whatever, and why. And as an aside, one of my kiddos, who I adore, just adore, she's a Spitfire, got on there and she circled bored. She's like, I'm so bored. I have nothing to do. Nothing. And I mean, it just like, it cracked me up. And her mom was like, you sent home 3 bags of stuff. She has stuff to do. But it's just, you know, she's social, and this is really hard for her because she is so social. But and she's a first grader. So, I mean, I think it's possible for many kids to be able to use it even down into kindergartner, but not exclusively necessarily.
Right.
How about,
I
so
love
we
that
have
feature
some
that they
questions
can
coming
take
in
pictures
about,
and stuff like that.
so we have some questions coming in about kind of that grading and assessment. Essentially, you know, if families can't get online, if it's packets and pencils, how do you grade their stuff? And also a related question of, if families aren't online, how, you know, the definition of distance learning is that there has to be, you know, meaningful contact essentially. How is it, does a phone call work for that? What is kind of, how do all these things fit together? Do you have any insights for that? And Stacy, you might need to hop in here for that too.
I'll go with what I'm doing right now. And I have 8 students because I'm in a center-based program for students. And so I'm asking each family where they're at. And so I FaceTimed with one of my students the other day, and I'm comfortable with that because I have 8 students and I have a close relationship with their families. But I will do phone calls, and if they are, I've asked them to save their work if they're going to do paper packets, and eventually, should this continue, I'll be doing pick up and drop offs door to door. So just dropping off more work and picking up what they want to give me back. I think we're going to have to find pretty creative ways that might not work for everybody. Also, as far as assessments go, I think we're still getting, in my district, still getting guidance on that. We're still in the very early stages, but we are going to be expected to continue to provide standards-based, we're still teaching. And so they're going to be looking for different ways to do those formative assessments of their students. But I think that guidance would probably come from your district.
Yeah, same here. We had a lot of talk yesterday about that. I don't know what anything was decided yet, but that our buses would possibly run once a week to do drop-offs and or pickups from students if they needed to turn things in. As far as our kinders go, I'm not really expecting anything to come back. We did ask like that they send pictures of work that they've done. We were thinking about saying, you know, send us a picture of one of the things from the checklist that you did today, things like that. Hopefully, you know, a lot will be able to get on to the live meetings and communicate with others. I know I had a few students that were pretty excited when I told them about that yesterday, that they'd have a chance to see each other on the computer and say hi and share and things like that.
So there's another question about what's the difference between Seesaw Family and Seesaw Class?
I'm not sure on that, Sarah. Do you know?
I might be giving wrong information, but I'll tell you what I think it is. So each of my, there is, Seesaw Class is what you would use. Yes, somebody typed that in. So you would want to set up a Seesaw Class, but you then would also invite families to have access to that as well. So I can link.
Yeah, I would say the Seesaw Family is like the parent side of it, because like for my son, have the parent side of it where I get notifications like he added something to his journal today, or there's a message from your teacher, that kind of.
Yeah, so my parents have the app maybe on their phone, and then my students have the app on, and we're having issues with the app itself. I don't know if that's universal, but we're recommending families go through, for their students, go through like Chrome or Firefox or whatever, because of some issues Seesaw is having on the app. But otherwise, I do have like an intro to Seesaw webinar information that I can possibly link to the end of the this. My brain's not working anymore. This presentation. So I can do a slide on Seesaw at the end on where you can even just take like an intro to Seesaw class, because it's not, again, it might be a big learning curve as a teacher if it's not something you've ever used. It's a big learning curve for me, and I've known about it for 4 years, but I haven't used it regularly. So yeah.
Any thoughts on resources for families who do not speak English as their first language? Does Seesaw have a translation feature for Spanish or any other language?
I know Class Tag does. That was one of the reasons that the other kindergarten teacher was using it with me, because we have one dad that does not speak English very well. So it automatically translates everything into Portuguese for him, so, which is great. I'm assuming Seesaw has something similar, but.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I can look into it, and then I'll add that information on the slide as well if I find out how to do that. Maybe I see lots of people out there use it, so maybe someone else knows. Feel free to put it in the group chat.
I'm assuming, it's like I said, Class Take had a ton of different options. I don't remember how many language choices there were, but there was a lot, so.
Okay.
All right,
Ready
you
for
can
the next
skip to
slide?
the next slide. Sure. This is just a picture of the 1st and 2nd grade Google Classroom, I think. Yeah, so they used multiple classes and kind of did one for each subject to do this, to set theirs up. So one of the they both teach 1st and 2nd grade separately, but then one of them all of the 1st grade math and one teaches all of the 2nd graders math. That way they're not trying to double teach all the standards. So that's why they have Klang's math, Donley's math, and then the other ones they're all doing together. This was just a bunch of different resources that everyone had said they were gonna, like, we use iExcel already and RazKids, so we're gonna keep using those because kids are familiar. I've been using books all year. This one's really cool. If you guys haven't checked this out, it's an animated story. So they take the popular kids books, but instead of just like somebody reading it on YouTube and holding the pictures, it actually animates it. So like the giraffe can't dance, for example, the giraffe is like dancing across the page as it reads, and it highlights the words as it reads so they can follow along and kind of get that too. Really fun. They put out some send home packets to go with the books too for free. It's free for teachers, and right now they're offering a free 30-day trial for parents. Hopefully, if this goes on longer, they will extend it. But otherwise, I think it's like $4.99 a month. ABC Mouse, same, free for teachers. And then you can share activation codes for kids to use it at home. It's kind of a hassle because they each have an individual activation code and you have to write it onto the sheet. It doesn't just like automatically print for you to send home, but otherwise they have to pay for it at home. So, and the kids really like it. You can assign things on there specific, but it also has a lot of extra, more fun things too. 1st and 2nd grade use the ABC and Starfall. I do not use those, so I'm not super familiar, but they said they are free. And a lot of us have been linking the museums and zoos and the virtual things that people are putting out there that are free. We use Fluency and Fitness. Our gym teacher actually has been using that, so we're going to continue that, put that on the link or on the site for kids to link to. Brain Pop Junior, I'm not familiar with. I believe 1st and 2nd grade uses that, but it is free right now, I'm told.
Yeah, I also just dropped in a link with like, it's an article, it has a lot of pop-up ads, so I apologize in advance, but it links like hundreds of free apps right now. I use a couple others that I mentioned earlier, Splash Learn, which used to be Splash Math, I really like, as well as Freckle and I Know It are all math apps. I can add those too. Lalio is another one I'm gonna start using. I just set
I
up
was
all
just
my
checking that one out too.
Yep, I just set it up yesterday, and it also does, I practiced as a student, and it has like the assessment you take, and I was trying to be like a student, and so making mistakes and stuff, and then it caters you go on a little path, and you get to, it's fun and it's engaging. So yeah, I figured Lalilo would be another app that's also free that they would maybe enjoy using.
Mm-hmm.
And those are all, the ones I mentioned are all free. And of course, there's things like Go Noodle. There's so many good teacher websites out there right now. But what I'm trying to do is kind of weed through them and pick out ones that I think my students particularly will like. And I don't want to overwhelm them with a list with 100 apps. I want to pick out ones that I think are going to be best to meet the
And that's
needs.
kind of what we did too. We're going to use the things we've already been using, maybe add 1 or 2 things, and then see how long it goes, and maybe add some more things later once they feel comfortable with what they've got.
Right.
We did a lot of talking about schedules, how important it is for so many kids to have that schedule at school. So we will encourage parents to keep schedules of some sort. We're going to send them some sample, some ideas that we came up with. We've been hearing here a lot, make a schedule for yourself, and don't forget to include break times for yourself. And just that key to collaborate, work with everybody to make these so that we're being consistent for families. So on the next page, there's
Can you
a sample.
talk a little bit about, we talked about this a little bit on our webinar yesterday, and Stacy, you might be able to weigh in on this too, if you two, well, although you might. So Kenna has a question about like essentially option overload, and I think this might be related a little bit to cognitive overload. Like, can you address a little bit about like how do you kind of pare it down and make sure, especially because we do have, in the Audubon portfolio, I think we've got 8 or 9 Montessori schools where doing everything online is just not the way that their kids have ever done it. So can you address that a little bit about how to structure choices and avoid option overload?
Sure. So, and Erin, I don't know if you want to ask people to get emails and they could maybe watch yesterday's or just get the slides a little bit about, because I think some of that theory yesterday actually would have been really good for practically everybody who's doing this, right? Like, so yesterday, Emily Stull, our curriculum coordinator, and I apologize, I have bronchitis or something. Emily was able to provide just some theory, basic theory about distance learning, but really e-learning as well. And cognitive overload is basically specifically when you're adopting a new method as the recipient. So this is happening for teachers, right? How do you feel right now? Like, take a second and like, has this week been easy, fun? I saw somebody post on Facebook today that this break has been great. They must be in like Kansas or something, and they're never going back to school, and they're not even doing distance learning or something. Like, seriously, the one lady was like, I was so burnt out. I'm so grateful for this break. And I'm like, what? So, because that's not like, I haven't slept and I already have an online program. We're just helping people. So I don't know what that is. So how do you feel this week? Probably, you're waiting for things, and then all of a sudden people give you things, and now you got to hurry up and learn it, and you got to figure it out. And like, just like, honestly, one of the things I would do this weekend as a practitioner is sit down and like go back and think, how did I feel on Sunday when I heard the governor? Monday, Tuesday at school, at home, how did I feel? And then how am I today on Saturday? For like, we're providing actually a relaxation option for our teachers. I have a friend who's a psychologist, and she's going to do this like guided relaxation thing tomorrow. And it's not required, but just like, I feel like we need to give them something, and they can't leave and go to yoga somewhere. So we're going to help them. But anyway, so if you track that, that is how your kids are going to feel March 30th through probably, I would say, the younger that they are, the longer that they will feel it. And so that's cognitive overload, right? Now you're not just teaching reading. Now you're expecting them to read it or someone to read it to them. And that person is trying to do exactly what you're trying to do this week. So it's interesting, right? Like, if you're at home, if your school has sent you home, you're home with kids, or if your kids are in your classroom, or whatever that is. Those are the experiences of the parents. Track that. If you have kids yourself, how is that parenting? that kind of thing. And then keep that in mind as you're designing this. So what, in the ideal world, if someone would have really thought about you this week, and I want to say, as an administrator, I just want to give kudos to the administrators. 2 weeks isn't enough. I'm an approved online learning provider. Do you know how long it takes to get that done in Minnesota? If you're a charter school and an online learning provider, it's a 2-year process. Let that sink in, okay? So I have so much empathy, sympathy, and anger with you, and frustration that I mean, you know, it's not, nobody can fix this, right? So I'm just taking a minute here to kind of help you see this. I think this is actually important too. Like, think about this. And but now your students have been sitting at home, and the younger that they are, the less they understand it.
Mm-hmm.
And so on Monday morning, March 30th, what are they actually able to do?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that's that cognitive overload piece. So on Monday, you expect very, very little, because now they're back in school, quote unquote, in a new way. And it's a whole different way of learning, and nobody signed up for that. None of the Audubon group signed up for kindergarten in an online way, because Audubon doesn't have anybody doing kindergarten online. And personally, I think that's okay. I'm just gonna say that out loud, because I mean, it's fine that some people do it, but you know, like what you're going to experience, you know, that's rough. I want you all to take notes and tell me how it goes, because I've always been like, geez, I don't know. As an online person, I'm not sure I want to deal with kindergartners. But Mindy has kicked it. Like, that woman has got it, and it's amazing. I also have to just give her kudos, because her teaching partner, Lisa Steffen, who is a phenomenal teacher, and is not super old, like she's not old at all. Yeah, like cell phone technology, right? And this is just honest. If you're watching this, Lisa, I'm sorry, but we're just giving honesty. So what they've done is they've paired. So they've paired up, and they're teaching together. They're all of their kids. And Mindy has directed the distance side of things and has figured out how they're going to do that in kindergarten. And then she sends Lisa work to do. Create this, do this, find this resource. What do we do in RAS kids? How do you think that, you know, whatever. I don't know. I'm making this up because I actually don't even know, because they're just doing such a great job that I don't know anything. And I'm not even their boss. I'm kind of Minnie's boss, but like, I'm just an advisor to the seed-based program. So if you have somebody, you know, who just does not, is, you know, like, I don't want to touch the cell phone even. And now all of a sudden your district or your charter has said, we're doing more like an e-learning blended model. You have to have Google Classroom. Then you got to pair that person with somebody who does know it, because otherwise we're going to lose really effective teachers. So think about your colleagues and where their strengths are. And I guarantee you there is enough work to do for everyone to do it. And then that cognitive overload on the teachers is reduced. And then you'll be mindful about how to translate that back to the students. I apologize. That was a really long answer, but I hope there were some pieces in there that gave you some pause and also encouragement, because I don't know if many people are telling you the job that you were tasked with is not just overwhelming, in my mind, close to impossible. And yet somehow we're pulling it off. It won't be as high quality, because 2 years is 2 years, right? But in some cases it's going to be amazing, because you are amazing. Like, early learning people, y'all are amazing. Okay, I'm gonna shut up. Sorry. This is what happens when you give me the microphone.
Yeah, I think our biggest
Well,
benefit too is that we've already formed relationships with these kids. You know, we're not starting at day one trying to do things, you know, online and over the computer and stuff with you. So these kids are going to be excited to see us on Monday. They're going to want to log in. They're going to want to talk to us. You know, they're missing everything here too. So I think the engagement piece will be a little bit easier as we get going because of that. So, and yeah, she's right, Lisa, and I paired up.
Mindy has that experience. Mindy knows what a 11th grader who comes to online with no prior relationship looks like. So that it's going to be really fun. We need to get some college people to do test studies with us all.
Yeah, yeah, building those relationships in the distance learning or e-learning setting from day one isn't easy. So at least we have that leg up with our littles that they already know us, they're comfortable, and we're trying to keep our schedule and do a lot of the same things the way we've always done them, just to try to give them a little bit of that back with the morning meeting and the read alouds and signing them some outside time like recess and things like that too.
Yes, agreed. I kind of a little bit in a different perspective too, with the comment from Kenna maybe, with option overload and recommending simplicity. Absolutely. It's not, we're overwhelmed, but I'm thinking about my parents right now that are now expected to be teachers as well, especially with our younger students who might not be able to navigate all of this online technology on their own. And these are parents that are probably working or and if they're not working, they're maybe stressing out about not being able to pay their bills. So I do think, as much as I'm gathering tons of ideas and resources, I'm not going to bombard my families right away, and I'm going to start small. That's why this week, the only thing I did, and we're not technically supposed to be starting online instruction till the 27th, but the only thing I'm doing is making sure they're connected with the feelings check-in. And then week one, we'll maybe start doing our morning meeting every morning and having one assignment. And I think you go slow and steady. I've been saving sort of snippets of parent comments about being kind to yourself and being realistic. And like, there is so much learning to be done in cooking and making lists and setting the table, and that we should be embedding learning into daily routines as much as possible. I found another resource that was basically about like how to do reading while you're in your house. And so I think while we're all in this place where we're like, we got to figure everything out, that we also have to just take a deep breath and try to be realistic about what kids are going to be able to do at home. Because some kids might want to work on their tablet for 8 hours and do everything, but we can't make that the expectation right now.
Right. Yeah, I'm feeling the same. Like, day one's going to be, hey, this is morning meeting, this is what we're going to be doing. Now log into your RAS Kids and show your parents what you've been doing at school. That's it. Like, I mean, keep it super simple,
Yeah.
Day two, log into the Google Classroom and, look at one thing, just really, really slow and steady for the kids, and starting with the things that they know how to do already.
Right. And I'm not gonna, I might at some point offer like hangout times where everyone can hop on, but that will never be an expectation. So my morning meeting is going to be recorded so that they can watch it. For you working parents, they can watch it at 10 o'clock at night and learn what the weather was at 9 that morning. And that's okay. And because I'm really, really lucky that I have teenagers at home that can do their own work. And they are in their own rooms right now, leaving me alone, and they're not coming in and asking me to feed them. And I can do this webinar, but that's obviously not the case for everybody. So just really giving grace and helping families find ways individually that they're going to be able to do it, and really trying to get to know your families and build relationships, not just with the students, but with the families, and how you can support them.
Yeah, that's another thing. I have 12 students, and I have great relationships with their families already, so I don't have 30, students that I have to worry about, which is helpful on my side too. So I feel like I can make more of those face-to-face daily connections with having less students to worry about. You skip to the next slide. It just showed the sample schedule that, oh, I see Sarah added. Oh, wait, yeah. So this sample schedule is one that Sarah added. So Sarah, you want to chime in on this one?
Yeah, I was also in the special ed webinar earlier this morning, and so this is similar to what I might be doing. There's 3 different examples here, and the one that's the picture that's shown is made on just a Google Doc with links to activities that this person is sending out every day. The first 6, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She numbered them wrong. I'll forgive her for that. The blue tasks are required. The yellow tasks are optional. But this is a really well-formatted way to let students know what they have to do every day, with links to like the story they have to listen to, with link to the assignment. And this was all made on Google Docs or Google Slides. The other two are more just like a written out, and it does include things like routines-based ideas. And so I just wanted to include 3 different samples that I found online that I will probably be drawing from when I create mine, which I have not done yet, for my students. That's it.
Sounds good. So the next one, I actually just took pictures of the one. My teaching partner here was kind of laying out our schedule for us yesterday, trying to keep things, like I said, pretty similar. So we'll do that, morning meeting, have a little time to do whatever it is that's on your to-do list for the day, just breaking it down. Then we also gave some ideas over to the side there on other things that they could do, those chores and life skills. I've been trying to add that stuff in a lot. Like one of our standards we have to teach still is like sorting and classifying objects, and like have your kids help you sort the laundry, have them sort, toys and do cleanup. There's all kinds of things you can do to tie in other things that doesn't have to be do a worksheet. So I'm trying to tie that in so that parents can do easy things or things they need to get done anyway if they're home, and that they can just include their kids and have a little learning time with that too. This was what we've kind of come up with so far for us. Pretty straightforward there, talking about the office hours, remembering to take a break, doing our live things and recordings.
If you have kids that don't have email access, are you just preparing this all and dropping it off on Monday morning? Is that like, what's your approach for
I can
students that
answer
don't
that,
have
Mindy.
internet access?
Yeah, I can answer that, Mindy. So
Okay.
because of the size of our school and the amount of technology that we already use, right away, the first thing on Monday was a technology or a survey of everything. Do you need food? Do you have internet at home? Do you have a computer at home? Would it be better for you to have a Chromebook? Whatever that was. And I think for sure in K1-2, one of the reasons that we went this way was that everyone, right, has the ability to do this at home. Mindy?
What was that?
Everyone in the kindergarten through 2nd grade has internet at home, or
Yes.
or else we're helping them get it. So we have a provider up in Crosslake who literally is next to our parking lot and has good connections. Crosslake's just an amazing town where they just support, and they're working with us a little bit, and then using some of those free options out there with like Spectrum Xfinity for low-income families. And then we also looked into some hotspots, a couple of different cell providers have that. So we have a really great technology person who just jumped on that Sunday, like the minute that the governor gave this order. She was like, whatever we need, we're giving all of our teachers Google Voice numbers so that they won't be using their personal cell phones. They'll only be in the building if they're part of the childcare rotation. And from that, as of the 30th or whenever, if they change their mind about whatever. But so that's part of what's going on.
Yeah, and if need be, if we're going to be doing those weekly deliveries, you could, we're going to be typing this stuff out and planning it anyway. You could print it out and send it home with the packet, with the whole week's worth of to-do lists too.
Yeah, do you have so I know there was a question earlier that I'm not sure we got addressed, if there was like a recommended amount of screen time for kids 8 and under, but also I think related is like, should we be limiting this to like 1 or 2 platforms or 1 or 2 online tools, or is there kind of a best practice around both how much time kids should be online and how many tools we should be asking them to learn and parents to learn?
So what our kind of best practice internally is trying to simulate what they have in the classroom as much as possible. And we have like a single sign-on with Clever, I think it's called. And so they're able to go to all the websites through Google Classroom, having that link there. So the kids feel like they're just going to Google Classroom. And then once they're in Google Classroom, it can take them to other places, but they don't feel like they have to do that. And so that's the provision sort of that we are going under, is if it can start in the landing spot and then they go out, we don't want them to have to like, type in the URL. That's clicks, links, those kinds of things. And then Mindy, have you guys talked about amount of hours? And maybe Sarah too, if you're doing any.
We have not talked as like a whole school, I guess. Lisa and I had kind of talked about it, that we didn't want to, have more than, an hour a day. We usually so if we were doing our stations, they would have one station for reading that was 20 minutes, that was RAS Kids. And if we did it at another station, maybe for math, same, it would be another 15 or 20 minutes. That's what we would have in the classroom. So I don't really want them to be on it a lot more than what we already do.
As far as where the district in, and again, I'm a little bit different situation with the center-based program. The guidance now is, I have to switch my documents over. We're phasing in work. And it depends on grade level. So instruction might be for a subject might be 5 minutes in kindergarten, up to 15 minutes in 5th grade. And week 1, is daily class meeting just for building connections and routines, and one subject only. And then one specialist per week only. And then week 2, you do your class meeting, and then you add another academic. And then week 3, you add a 3rd academic. Week 4, you add your 4th academic. And we're looking at reading, word study, writing, and math. And then one weekly science, social studies, or health lesson. And so if we are in this for the long haul, it's 4 weeks to ramp up to the full expectation. And then the expectation is that you're spending 20 to 30 minutes per subject area. So week 1, we're looking at 20 to 30 minutes with that class meeting total per day, all the way up to week 4, where it might be closer to 2 or so hours. And that correlates with, I've seen so much stuff lately. I've been living on my computer, but when you talk to homeschoolers and stuff, when you're talking about actual academic instruction for an elementary student, that might be 1 to 2 hours per day, because the learning is in the doing and the other things. At school, there's a lot more things going on. There's lunch, there's recess, there's extra recess, there's social time, there's read to self, there's, all those things that make up the full day. Don't overload students by expecting that they're going to do 6 hours of sit down work on math, reading, and science. So build in, my kids are going to have a built-in daily schedule. As Tina, you just asked about that phase-in schedule. It's from my individual district, so I'm not comfortable sharing it directly. But it's just something to keep in mind about just phasing in and each district might send out separate guidance on that. But I think that it was a very smart move on my district's part to do it that way, so kids can get used to it.
Yeah, I like the idea of the phasing in thing too. That's a great idea. I'm going to talk to the rest of my team about that later. I can't remember if there was anything else on my slides or not. Is there anything, or yeah, just any questions, I guess. So.
Okay, so this is Stacy. I'm just going to jump in real quick before someone else does. Erin, I'm just wondering, because I actually think this is the territory that's the scariest when I think about the whole territory here that we're in. If the schools are interested, I'm wondering if it would be a good idea, like Emily suggested, having a Slack for sharing ideas for all of Audubon schools, or even possibly doing I don't know, not weekly probably, but every other week or something maybe. I mean, right, Mindy, do you think your team would have appreciated being here? I mean, I know.
Other thing my district is doing is they've created a Google, let's see if I have it open to describe it better. They created a shared Google, I don't know if it's a regular doc or something, but it's got grade level resource share, and they're asking people to drop in research. There's a CISA one, they're asking you to share it to your district shared folder, and then they have a separate page to drop anything else that they maybe made in another platform. And they're really asking that we work together, so that we're not all on our own trying to recreate or create all of these materials, because we're going to burn ourselves out if you're just trying to sit by yourself in your little desk creating all your own material. I'm all for borrowing and using what's already made, because why would you start fresh, right? So I would encourage that if that's something you guys could do, is to set up some sort of shared drive or shared Google folder where people can drop in resources.
Yeah, and Stacey, I think Audubon can definitely host that, you know, so just for those of you on the chat, Emily, who also works at Crosslake and had helped lead our webinar yesterday, had emailed me and said we could sort of create some Google rooms based around distance learning strategies, e-learning strategies, procedures, attendance stuff, and then like a K5, 6, 8, 9, 12, and just kind of drop in resources there, and we could just, people can add their stuff and access their stuff. And I think that the, you know, creating some resources by cohorts could probably be really useful. So we will work on that, getting that put together in the next couple of days here. And so hopefully I will communicate that probably through your school leaders and to you if I have. Kenna, are we having one of these for ages 8 and up? We hadn't had a request for that. Is this the request for that? I have to talk to our friends at Crosslake and see if they're willing to host that for us. But if they are, then we can certainly organize another webinar next week to talk about, you know, resources for upper elementary or middle school and high school too. It's something that I've thought about in terms of like engaging high school kids, particularly high school kids that might be like going to high schools that are already at risk of dropping out, you know, and then if they don't have a space to go to every day, what does that mean for them? So I think there's a lot of big questions here to talk about, and I think we could have lots of these conversations, and there's a lot of knowledge over there at Crosslake that we could leverage if they're willing to help us. So we'll keep in touch and let you know as more of these develop. All right, what other, well, it's 11 o'clock, so I know there were a couple questions in the chat that didn't get answered. I will also drop my email address in the chat right now. And shoot me an email if you have others that didn't get answered here, because we need to respect our presenters' time and respect your time because you have a lot going on today. Shoot me an email if you have other questions that didn't get answered. I'll send them to the presenters and compile them and then send them out to you. Put your email address in the chat box if you want me to email you this webinar directly, okay? All right, thank you everybody for joining us, and we'll chat with you soon. Keep in touch, let us know how we can help. Thanks for coming.
Erin, I'll grab the chat as soon as people stop putting things in. And so I'll have the chat based on when I was able to get back on.
Oh, you're muted, Erin.
Sorry, I've been on for this entire time, so I should be able to get everything.
I think you're going to end up getting both, because that's what I saw before my computer froze, is the chat was merging from the previous one.
Yeah, it shows it's just one webinar. But
the
we
one
don't
you sent,
want to lose anything.
right, true.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I tried to keep.
I just want to, I'm just watching you guys because I want to see how you're doing this. If that's okay, can I learn?
Of course.
Yeah,
You can
I
tell
actually don't know how to do it, so I'm really hoping that like